I keep my phone brightness low so the landlord won't glimpse light under the door if he stalks the hallway again, but the cracked screen is bright enough to remind me what desperation looks like in digits. Minus $412 in checking, rent due yesterday, power shut-off notice waiting beside a warm fridge that's humming its last protest. Midnight slipped into 2:30 a while ago, yet I'm still thumbing through TaskRabbit like it's a casino that might feel sorry for me on the next spin. Most listings are the usual penny jobs. Assemble a bookcase, haul a sofa 3 flights, work I'd take if I owned a car that didn't sob every third ignition. Then the banner appears at the top of the feed, gold instead of blue. Priority request. I've only heard rumors, mostly in comments that vanish faster than they post. Supposedly, the app sometimes serves private clients who pay ridiculously well for errands nobody else will touch. No profile photo, no name, just bold type and a timer counting down. The phone buzzes once, as if nudging me. Replace single bulb, lamp post number 7, Prospect Terrace Park. Fee, $600. Must complete before sunrise. $600 for twisting in a light bulb. The rational part of me parades obvious warnings. Maybe it's a prank. Maybe stolen credit cards. Maybe I end up arrested for vandalism. But another part does quick math. $600 covers the power bill, 3 days of groceries, and maybe a bus pass so I'm not walking to job interviews in my only decent shoes. I accept. The banner vanishes. A new screen pops up with strict instructions. Bring your own bulb, 60-watt soft white. Photograph the lamp when lit and leave immediately. No confirmation code, no signature sheet. If anything feels off, my mind reminds me there's still time to cancel, but my thumb already slapped the green check before the thought finishes. I grab the last bulb from the junk drawer, wrap it in a clean sock so it won't shatter in my backpack, and slip outside. Providence nights in March are a damp kind of cold that sneaks past jackets, but the streets on the west side stay restless. Distant siren, dog barking at nothing, a couple fighting in soft Spanish. I keep my head down and hustle toward College Hill where the park overlooks the river, and the moneyed homes glow like quiet trophies. Prospect Terrace at 3:15 feels abandoned, the way playgrounds feel after dark when swings twitch in the wind. Granite statues of old city fathers watch me from their pedestals, eyes shadowed by weak lamplight. Lamppost number 7 stands near the overlook rail. Its bulb is out, the glass globe streaked with grime. Replacing it takes maybe 30 seconds. Step onto the low stone bench, unscrew the dead bulb, slot in the new one, twist until it bites. A sharp click, a breath, and the lamp flares to life, casting fresh light on the path and over the silent rooftops below. I raise the phone, snap the proof photo, and send. There's a moment where the world feels paused, like the second after flipping a coin before gravity decides. Then my phone pings. Payment received. The balance line jumps from bleeding red to healthy green so fast I nearly laugh. 60 seconds ago, I was budgeting whether to skip breakfast. Now the power company can wait their turn. I pocket the phone and step back, ready to leave, when I notice someone standing farther down the path, halfway hidden behind the bronze statue of Roger Williams. A man, maybe 40, in a dark overcoat, hands folded behind his back like he's judging a painting. He isn't watching the city. He's watching the lamp I just fixed, watching it the way a doctor studies an X-ray. Moonlight picks out a streak of silver in his hair. He doesn't move or speak, just observes. I clear my throat, an instinct to announce I'm here, not a threat. He tilts his head the smallest degree, acknowledging me without meeting my eyes, then shifts focus back to the lamp as though timing its glow. The park is big enough for 2 strangers, but the air feels suddenly thin. I mutter a polite evening that floats a foot and drops. No reply. My skin says it's best to go. I shoulder my pack, turn down the steps, and let my boots clack on the old brick walkway towards the streetlight. The real streetlight, the one the city pays to keep on. Behind me, the new bulb burns steady. It's just a job, I tell myself. People watch odd things all the time. Birders, train spotters, lamp auditors, apparently. Still, halfway down Benefit Street, I check the payment again to be sure it's real, and it is. $600 minus the app's cut, already transferable. The sight should taste like victory. Instead, it lingers like metal on my tongue, and even after I turn onto my block, I can't shake the picture of that motionless figure cataloguing the lamp I left behind. By the time my apartment door closes, dawn's faint blue is stirring outside the kitchen window. The fridge kicks into silence, tired compressor finally yielding. I check the app one more time, just in case another gold banner appears, and the night asks me, again, how much I'm willing to trade for a little breathing room. The app's home screen stares back at me. No new banners, just a list of bargain bin chores I can ignore for once. I breathe out through my nose, set the phone on the counter, and let exhaustion pull me sideways onto the couch. Light from the street traces a pale bar across the ceiling. I plan to rest for a minute, maybe two. The next thing I know, daylight is pressing against the blinds, and the phone alarm bleats 11 a.m. on repeat. I'm soaked in stale sweat and half dreams of street lamps blinking like eyes. I shuffle to the sink, rinse my face, and watch last night's payment clear into my checking account. Real numbers, ready to spend. Part of me wants to celebrate, but another part replays the man in the overcoat, the way he studied that warm bulb the way a jeweler inspects a flaw. First order of business is to save what little normal life I still have. I send money to the power company, enough to stop the shutoff, and toss an extra 20 onto my transit card. The fridge's motor is silent again, broken, but at least the lights are on. I scribble a grocery list that looks like hope. Bread, eggs, coffee that doesn't taste like scorched pennies. Outside, afternoon drizzle turns sidewalks into smeared chalk. On the corner, Bodega's television, two anchors chatter about something political, words flicking across a closed caption strip nobody reads. I buy the basics, swipe my card without it being denied for once, and the cashier, same guy who's seen me dig for coins, gives me a nod that feels almost like respect. By evening, I've replaced the fridge bulb, washed the stack of plates in the sink, and even opened the window to let the apartment breathe. It should feel like a small victory lap. Instead, each ordinary sound, the drip in the shower, the distant bus brakes, lands too loud, as though the quiet between is waiting for something to move. At 10:17 p.m., my phone vibrates. Gold banner, priority request, deliver parcel, £3 fresh beef liver. Deposit on concrete block beside northern entrance of East Line Tunnel. Complete by 11:47 p.m, fee, $900. There's a one-click accept button and the same merciless countdown. Same bring your own materials clause, same demand for a photo. Beef liver. I picture the meat counter at the 24-hour supermarket, the butcher paper leaking dark fluid through the plastic bag, the bus ride across town with strangers eyeing my cargo. I stall, thumb hovering, and look around the room for advice that isn't here. $900 is rent plus change. The tunnel, though, I know the spot. An abandoned rail spur cutting under College Hill where kids spray paint names and rats the size of kittens run victory laps. No lights, no cameras, one way in unless you want to scramble a razor wire fence. I tap accept and the clock starts. 90 minutes. On the street, rain has quit, but the sky holds that bruise-coloured sheen city nights get after drizzle. The supermarket glows like a low-budget lighthouse. I find liver packaged in portions too small, so I buy two, weigh them on the deli scale, and add a sliver until the digits read exactly £3. The cashier raises an eyebrow, but shrugs. People buy stranger things at night. A bus ride and short walk later, I'm standing beneath the sandstone arch that once announced Providence and Worcester Railway. No trains run here. The line got severed years before I was born. Graffiti tags crawl up the walls, neon crowns, cartoon faces, letters ballooned into monsters. My shoes scrape gravel as I step off the pavement. The instructions said a concrete block. There it is, waist high, shoved against a retaining wall. I pull the liver from my pack, cold and slick. I set it on the block like an unwilling sacrifice, snap a photo with flash, then wipe my fingers on a rag I brought for the purpose. The flash blinds me for a heartbeat. When my vision clears, I glimpse motion deeper in the tunnel. Someone stepping back into darkness. "Hello?" I call, instantly regretting it. Sound ricochets down the corridor, too big in the enclosed space. No answer, but a metallic clink drifts back, like a bicycle wheel bumping a loose signpost. My pulse stutters. Phone back in hand, I send the photo, then walk toward open air. Payment received. I pocket the phone and keep moving. On the sidewalk above the tunnel mouth, a narrow house crouches behind an iron fence. A single porch light burns. An old woman occupies the top step in a wooden chair, a thin blanket pulled across her knees. Resting in her lap is a brass handbell, the small schoolhouse kind, both hands curled snugly around its dark handle, as if warming it. She tracks me without a blink, eyes bright as coins in the porch glow. The bell stays silent, but her knuckles tighten, testing the weight of a ring she hasn't yet given. She's new. I'd notice a neighbor like that, sitting nightly with a bell. I nod, polite. She nods back, small as a cough, and I quicken my pace. 2 blocks later, I risk a glance back. She's still on the step, still staring, bell unmoved. A second shape, tall, coat collar up, stands on the sidewalk near her gate, back turned, head angled toward the tunnel. My stomach knots and I fight down the urge to look twice. At home, I double lock the door, dump vinegar over my hands to kill the iron smell, and shove the rag in a trash bag I plan to toss 3 streets away. The clock reads just past midnight. I want coffee, but settle for tap water, eyes fixed on the phone face down on the counter like it might sprout another gold banner if I glance away. Minutes crawl. No banner comes. I think about the man timing the lamp, the old woman with the bell, another man in the tunnel. I try streaming a sitcom to drown the silence, but the laugh track feels staged. I shut it off. Finally, I drag a chair beneath the doorknob, not that it'll do much, and crawl onto the couch with a blanket. I close my eyes and see a concrete block, a heap of raw meat, and a bell that hasn't rung yet but will, given the right cue. Sleep lands in ambush. When morning sun pushes through the blinds, my phone battery is down to 10%. I flip it over. No new tasks, yet. I should be relieved. Instead, I tap the app open every 10 minutes, waiting, because the money is real. Morning stretches late into afternoon before I finally put shoes back on and head for the laundromat. Anything to keep my thumbs away from the app. The sky hangs low, milk grey, the kind that bleeds colour out of everything beneath it. I carry a duffel of dirty clothes, but all I can picture is yesterday's liver uncoiling onto rough cement. The bus ride skims past the East Line embankment. Graffiti there is fresh, bubble letters still wet in spots, and through the scratched window, I glimpse someone standing at the tunnel mouth where I left the parcel. He's tall, shoulders a little stooped, camera pressed to his face. Each flash is quick, surgical, mapping angles only he seems to understand. I stay on the bus 3 extra stops, heart thudding in my collarbone. The laundromat is warm and jangly with coin machines, but I keep seeing those flashes every time the dryer door swings shut. So when my clothes finish spinning, I backtrack on foot, curiosity beating common sense. By the time I reach the underpass, the photographer is gone, but footprints mark damp gravel in a neat half circle. Fresh tire tracks cut across too. On the concrete block sits a square of wax paper the exact size of the liver parcel, clean save for one dark thumbprint. Someone documented the drop site, removed the meat, and left nothing but evidence that evidence once existed. I step back, turn. The porchlight house is 2 streets over. From here I can just make out its railing above the slope. The old woman is in her chair, shawl the color of dead roses, bell balanced on her lap. She sees me, lifts the bell an inch, lets it fall. The single chime slices through late-day traffic noises, so clear it might be inside my skull. She doesn't ring again. I walk, fast. Every storefront reflection becomes a potential tale. Every alley looms like a warning. At home I deadbolt the door, hang a blanket over the small kitchen window, and stack canned soup against the doorknob. My rational brain keeps a running commentary. Overreacting, man, calm down. But my hands shake too badly to pour coffee without spilling grounds. I gulp water straight from the faucet, taste rust, gag it down. Night comes slow, dragging quiet with it. No priority request appears. Midnight crawls to 2, then 3. I doze sitting up, phone balanced on my thigh until vibration jerks me awake. Not a gold banner, a push notification from a news app I barely remember installing. Body found in Providence River, police seeking tips. I swipe it away, but the headline clings to the dark like wet paper. Dawn's first weak light nudges through blanket weave. I should sleep, yet some instinct herds me back outside. Maybe I need to confirm I'm still part of ordinary life. Buy pastries, watch commuters, anything. On the sidewalk I meet yesterday's photographer walking the opposite direction. He's closer than he was at the park, easier to study. Lanky build, crow's foot creases, camera strap digging a pale groove in his coat collar. He notices me noticing him and quickens his pace. Reflex kicks in. I follow. He cuts down an alley flanked by overflowing dumpsters, snaps a few photos of graffiti tags, then circles to the Riverwalk. I stay far enough back to look like coincidence until he stops at the railing where water slaps stone pilings. He lifts the camera, frames the opposite bank, fires 3 times. Why the tunnel? I ask before courage can wilt. The man startles so hard his lens bumps the metal rail. Up close his eyes are bloodshot, like he hasn't slept since last week. You should go home, he mutters, voice a raw scrape. These errands, they don't end where you think. You watch me replace a bulb, then you watch me drop liver. Who hires you? He laughs, not amused, more like someone coughing up a secret. Nobody. I'm trying to map the pattern before it closes. He fumbles for a cigarette with shaking fingers. Thought the light jobs were harmless, thought documenting them might help someone. His eyes flicks to the river. You still think that? I ask. He shakes his head so slightly it might be tremor. They're building something. Longitude, latitude, history. Threads pulled tight. I missed a line and people disappeared. He starts to say more, then his eyes lock on something over my shoulder. I turn. The old woman is poised on the first landing of the granite steps that climb from the Riverwalk to Benefit Street, no more than 40 feet away. She lifts the brass bell to shoulder height and strikes it once. The metallic note slices through traffic noise. The photographer jolts as if whipped, drops his cigarette and sprints down the embankment path, camera thumping his ribs. I don't follow. I keep my eyes on the bellwoman. Her lips shape silent words, but the meaning lands in my gut. Keep going, and you'll learn what happened to the last witness. I blink. A city bus rumbles between us, and when it groans past, the landing is empty, the bell's single note already swallowed by the street. I stagger home, mind yanking at puzzle pieces that refuse to fit, light posts, raw meat, a growing map only certain eyes can see. Rent money sits safe in my account, but my world feels mortgaged to something that doesn't accept cash. The app stays silent all afternoon. Around 6, the screen finally brightens. Priority request. Secure chain at India Point Pier. Padlock provided on site. Fee, $1,200. Complete before 8:45 p.m. 1,000 tiny reasons to refuse flood my head, yet my thumb hovers. The chain job sounds simple, and I've never been to the pier after dusk. Curiosity tilts the scale. I decide I'll go only to look. No chores tonight. Tell myself knowledge is safer than ignorance. I grab a flashlight, hide it in my coat. bus to the marina. Twilight paints the river a bruised violet. Boats knock wooden pilings with dull rhythms. The pier juts out like a finger. Partway along, the loose chain already hangs taut, a new brass padlock glinting under sodium lamps. Someone got here first. I step closer. The lock is keyed alike on both sides, cheap hardware store type. Scuffed as if wrestled shut. On the boards nearby rests a single grey work glove, index finger torn, cuff muddy. Next to it a phone face down, glass shattered, LED notification flashing unread messages. I flip it. The cracked screen shows a photo of the tunnel entrance, time-stamped 1 hour before my liver drop. Beneath that, another image, lamppost number 7 bright against night sky. My lungs seize. The photographer ran from the Riverwalk straight here, or someone carried his things. Either way, he isn't holding the camera now. Wind kicks small waves against pylons. Something creaks behind me. Wood settling, maybe footstep. I pocket the phone and glove back toward shore, every sense stretched. Halfway down the walkway, my own phone vibrates. New priority request. Waiting. I don't open it. My feet carry me faster, mind racing through possibilities. Police? No proof. Friends? None close enough. Parents? 2 states away and barely speak. I reach the street before daring to read the banner. Dig trench. 6 feet deep, 3 feet wide. Coordinates attached. Fee, $3,000. Complete before first light. 6 feet. The classic grave depth. Cliché enough to be a threat. I stare at those numbers until they double. Blur. A choice stands naked in front of me. Walk away right now, and wonder if walking away paints a target, or keep following the golden crumbs toward whatever monster waits at the end. I open the map link. The coordinates drop into a marsh on the edge of town, a place nobody visits unless they're dumping trash. My finger trembles over accept. When I tap, the night around me feels like it inhales. Accepting felt like signing a contract I hadn't read, but once that blue check lit up the screen, the rest of my body moved on its own. I needed tools. A 24-hour home improvement store squats by the interstate like a warehouse of bad decisions, and the bus dumped me there in 20 minutes. Inside, bright aisle lights buzzed while a handful of graveyard shift stockers pushed carts stacked with mulch. I picked out a long-handled shovel, a shorter trenching spade, and a contractor's pack of dust masks I'd pretend were for the smell. Lime, garden lime, not quicklime, came in 40-pound bags printed with cheerful tomatoes. I wrestled one onto a cart, then tossed in a cheap headlamp and pair of leather gloves. At checkout, the cashier eyed the haul, but if she wondered why a broke kid needed burial supplies at midnight, her face didn't show it. The receipt slid toward me like a silent good luck wish. There were no buses heading toward the marsh at that hour, so I booked a rideshare and prayed the driver wouldn't ask questions. He didn't. A bald man in a scuffed sedan picked me up, kept the radio low, and talked only once to ask if the back road entrance was fine. I said yes and watched city lights drain away until the trees swallowed them. The drop-off point was a fire road gated by a sagging chain. I hoisted gear out of the trunk, thanked the driver, and listened to his taillights fade. The world shrank to moonlight and the thin beam of my headlamp. According to the map, the coordinates lay half a mile down a maintenance track scored with old tire ruts. I walked, shovel clanking against the lime bag with each step, the sound too crisp in the damp night. Low grass gave way to cattails, then to soft ground that swallowed my shoes. Reflective tape flashed ahead, small survey flags stuck at uneven intervals. They formed a broken ring the size of a living room carpet, every stake angled just enough to suggest intent rather than accident. I stepped inside, set the bag of lime down, and scraped a line in the muck with the spade. The ground yielded like cake. First shovel full. Wet earth slapped the pile beside the hole. Second, third. Breathing settled into a rhythm. Muscles warmed. I tried not to think about the shape I was carving into the marsh. Birds lifted once in the distance, then fell silent again. 2 feet down, the soil turned heavy and slick. the kind that smears instead of crumbling. Water seeped in with a sigh. I kept digging, boots anchored on an improvised step. 3 feet, my shoulders burned. 4, the reeds around the clearing leaned as if listening. At 5 feet, the shovel struck something flat. Stone or maybe an old tree root. I pried it loose, a fist-sized slab etched with intersecting lines, smooth on the back, markings weather-soft. I set it on the rim, not eager to know more, and carried on. 6 feet came suddenly. The ground beneath my boots felt lower than the world above. I paused, chest heaving, swamp water pooling around my ankles. The moon rode a thin cloud, throwing silvery light across the flags. No wind, no insects, nothing. A hush so complete my own pulse sounded foreign. Then I saw beams crest the levee, headlights sweeping through sparse trees. An engine idled. The lights rolled closer until they stopped at the far edge of the service road about 30 yards off. I killed my headlamp, pressed flat against the wall of the trench. Water lapped at my boots. The hole held a smell like wet pennies and churned clay. From this depth, the sky was only a ragged rectangle. I listened. Doors didn't slam. Voices didn't rise. The engine stayed on, a distant purr that felt patient. My phone vibrated in my coat. One buzz, then silence. I pulled it out, screen shielded with a muddy palm. No new task, just the time, 3:04 a.m., and a low battery warning. The service road headlights blinked once, off then on, as if someone switched beams to tell another person, it's ready. I wiped mud from my glove and reached for the lime bag. The plastic crinkled loud in the stillness. I wrestled it halfway onto the shovel, thinking maybe I'd tip it in and honest labor would be proof enough of obedience. The act felt both ridiculous and vital. A second set of lights appeared behind the first, smaller, maybe a sedan, casting overlapping cones across the cattails. Shadows tangled like fingers on the reeds. Water kept rising inside the trench, inch by inch. Soon my knees would be under. I set the lime on the ledge instead of dumping it, dragged myself up the muddy wall, and crouched near the pile of spoil. From here the flags printed an unmistakable sigil, points connected in curves that guided the eye in circles. The headlights shut off. Darkness swallowed the road. A single door clicked open, followed by measured footsteps on gravel. I could run, scramble through reeds, hope the mud slowed them more than me, or I could stand by the grave I'd carved and pretend I belonged. Neither choice felt sane. The footsteps stopped. A flashlight beam swept the clearing, passed over the stone, the lime, the hole, then landed on me. It stayed there, steady. "Good work," a calm voice called. Male, mid-30s maybe, tone as casual as someone complimenting lawn care. "Stay right there, please." I froze, shovel in hand, mud dripping from the blade. The voice's owner moved closer. The beam dimmed as he dropped it low, letting me see him only as a silhouette, a neat coat, gloves, posture too relaxed for the hour. "We'll take it from here," he said. "You've earned a conversation." Behind him another shape waited by the cars, a bulkier figure whose face the night kept to itself. Conversation. Like we'd meet for coffee after this. My mind tried to laugh and found nothing funny. The man pointed toward the service road. "This way." Not a shout, not a threat. A request flavored like an order. Water sloshed in the hole behind me, and the earth smelled of roots scraped raw. The beam of the flashlight drifted toward the path, inviting, inevitable. I looked once at the half-buried stone, once at the trench filling with black water, then followed the light. Each step felt like signing that unread contract again, but the alternative, turning and sprinting into a marsh that already greedy for me, seemed worse. The figures by the cars waited, patient as tide. As I reached the road, the shovel slipped from my hand, landing with a dull thud that didn't carry far. No one reacted. The calm voice spoke once more, softer now, almost kind. "Let's talk about your future." The beam guides me up the bank toward 2 vehicles. a black SUV with its engine idling and a smaller sedan behind it. The bulkier silhouette waits by the SUV's rear door, head lowered like a workhorse between tasks. Rain has started again, the soft kind that mists rather than falls, but nobody seems bothered. As soon as my boots hit the gravel, the calm-voiced man slips his flashlight into a coat pocket, revealing a face I've never seen yet somehow expected. Trim beard, eyes slate grey, a small half-moon scar above the left brow. He offers a handkerchief. For a second I stare, confused, before realizing mud streaks my cheek. I keep my hands at my sides. He tucks the cloth away without offence. "We appreciate punctuality," he says, "and thoroughness. Two qualities hard to find." I can't make my mouth respond. Every muscle has gone deer tense, ready to sprint, though sprinting where is unclear. He gestures to the SUV's open door. "Please, warm seat, dry ride." The bigger figure, bald, shoulders like a freezer chest, holds the door, eyes fixed a few inches over my head. Rain beads on his shaved scalp, but he doesn't blink it away. Something about his stillness brings back the lamppost watcher, and suddenly all these strangers feel cut from the same cloth. Inside, the SUV smells of leather and cedar chips. No air freshener. This is what the vehicle actually smells like, which somehow unnerves me more. I perch on the edge of the seat. The calm man slides in beside me. The big one closes the door and moves to the driver's side. The interior lights stay off, leaving us in shadow broken only by the dash glow. The calm man studies my face, as if gauging where to start. "You dug to the exact depth," he says. "Many falter when the water rises." I swallow, throat sand dry. "Was it deep enough for what you need?" A smile tugs one corner of his mouth, not unkind, just amused. "Deep enough to prove you'll follow instructions under duress. Depth itself was incidental." Relief should follow, but the word incidental circles like a crow. We glide onto the road. The man lifts a slim tablet from the center console, taps a file. Photographs slide by. Lamp post number 7 lit bright, the liver parcel on its wax sheet, the freshly locked chain on the pier, and now aerial drone footage of the trench I just carved. A timestamp sits on each frame. I feel pulled apart, every act pinned like an insect. "You tracked me!" It slips out shaky. "Evaluated," he corrects gently. "Discretion, perseverance, improvisation. You score high." I don't know whether to thank him or jump from the moving car. City lights unfold ahead, haze making halos around them. He turns the tablet toward me, shows a final image. My apartment door, a glossy envelope taped dead center. I haven't been home since I left for the marsh. The sight chills more than the marsh water ever did. "What is this?" "An invitation," he says, "signed by someone whose approval carries weight." A neon diner sign flashes past the window. "Open 24 hours, then vanishes." The man pockets the tablet and sits back as though business is finished. "Where are we going?" I ask. "To meet the person who'll explain your new options," he says. "Sunrise is best for beginnings." Ahead, pale shape looms through the drizzle, an old boathouse set on pilings over black water. Its windows glow amber, steady, like eyes that never close. The driver pulls abreast and parks so smoothly the tires make no splash. The calm man opens his door, rain whispering against asphalt. "Inside, please." She dislikes delays. She. I picture the porchlight woman, the way her single bell note seemed to shake reality loose. My knees melt a little at the thought, yet I step out, because the alternative is sinking back into the seat and letting the car carry me somewhere worse. We cross a short wooden footbridge. Underneath, incoming tide laps the supports in a slow, hungry rhythm. The boathouse door stands ajar, yellow lights spilling out, beckoning. I glance behind. SUV idles, its taillights twin embers in the mist. The big driver remains at the wheel, statue still. Inside smells of old pine and engine oil. The room is wide, rafters high, one half given to workbenches neat as museum dioramas, the other to a conference table set with a single folder and 2 glasses of water. Beyond the far windows, dawn presses a thin line of salmon pink along the river edge. I motion toward the table. Water beads on my jacket and plinks onto the floor. The calm man positions himself by the door, as guard or maybe witness. Footsteps approach from a side office. The person who emerges is not the porch sitter. She's younger than I expected, early 40s maybe. A tailored raincoat draped over a navy suit, dark hair pulled tight. She removes leather gloves finger by finger, places them beside the folder, then looks up with an expression seasoned by boardrooms, not back alleys. "Mr. O'Connell," she says, voice smooth but iron-lined. "You've been busy." I bite the inside of my cheek. "And you are?" "Sabine Winslow," she replies. "I facilitate alignments of interest." She slides the folder toward me. My name is printed on the tab, crisp font. The thought of opening it freezes my hands. Sabine clasps hers together, nails immaculate. "In there you'll find 2 paths forward. Both end your financial troubles. Only one ends your involvement." My stomach hollows. "The whole, that was for me if I say no, wasn't it?" She considers, then nods once, honest as a hammer. "Refusal creates liabilities we can't afford." Across the water, a gull breaks the silence with a ragged cry. Dawn widens, painting her suit buttons gold. She gestures to the folder again. "Take your time," she says, "but not too much." The calm man by the door lifts his wrist, checks a watch that ticks loud in the hush. I reach for the folder. My fingers brush the cardboard, feel its weight, the sum of my choices packed into clean pages. I inhale, smell damp wood and distant diesel, and open the folder to see what price the morning expects. The folder smells of printer toner, fresh, like it came off the press on the drive over. Inside are 2 stacks of paper separated by a crimson divider. The thin stack on the left is titled Continuity Agent, Provisional Appointment. The fat stack on the right is labeled Anomaly Resolution Protocol, Voluntary. My fingers tingle just touching it. The first page of the agent contract breaks the world in 1 paragraph. "You will report to the Providence node of the Chronospatial Stability Directorate. Your immediate supervisor is Overseer 725, a predictive system that operates between 5 and 8 minutes ahead of baseline time. Your primary duty is to carry out small corrections that help maintain a stable timeline, keeping any changes or deviations from normal reality extremely minor within your assigned section of the city." 5 minutes in the future. My brain tries to laugh and chokes instead. Sabine watches me absorb the words. "Think of it as weather forecasting," she says. "Except the storms are causal loops, and you break them with very small umbrellas." She flips to a color photo stapled behind the paragraph. It shows a transformer exploded into black petals, arcs of blue fire, night sky blooming orange. A timestamp in the corner reads 2 hours after I swapped that lamppost bulb. "This is what almost happened," Sabine says. "Left unrepaired, surge travels 14 blocks, 81 injuries, 1 fatal. The next casualty is the surgeon who should have saved Frank Miller's sister 2 years from now." The ripple widens. She sweeps the next image forward. A dog sprawled beside a toppled trash barrel, rump torn open. Timestamp is minutes after my liver delivery. "Dog's name was Patches," she says. "He would have spooked a commuter at 3:12. Her car swerves, takes out a power pole. More drift." Another photo. A teenage boy balanced on the unsecured chain at India Point, arms flung wide, friends' phones raised. He falls, breaks his neck. His father quits the city council race out of grief. Budget bill dies. Hospital wing never gets upgraded. Spiral. My gut twists. I remember the fresh padlock, the empty pier, the glove. I'd thought it was a threat. It was prevention. Sabine slides the last shot across the table. A server room drowned in muddy water. Coils of cable glisten like drowned snakes. Fiber trunk goes down. Market algorithms stutter. Pensions vaporize. She taps the edge. That groundwater was already rising. Your trench became a sump. She lets the silence breathe. Outside, first sunlight burns off the mist, gilding the water's surface. In a different branch of time, the city is waking to blackout. Howling dogs, a dead kid, a father's grief. In this branch, people yawn, complain about drizzle and pour coffee. The photographer, who was he? I asked. He started as you did, she says, but curiosity nudged him off script. He thought proof mattered more than precision. Overseer flagged him at divergence 0.07 too high. Flagged how? She taps the fat stack. Anomaly resolution. The page beneath the cover shows a stark diagram, a silhouette dissolving into static. I push the folder back. I'm not a surgeon with steady hands. I work odd jobs because nobody else will hire me. Exactly, Sabine says. People with tidy lives hesitate. You've already demonstrated adaptive compliance. She nudges a pen toward me. Sign, and you join a team with resources, purpose, immunity. Refuse, and the system resolves the variable you've become. My heart doesn't pound. There's only a spreading cold, like submerging inch by inch. So the whole... A precaution, she confirms. You're still in the corridor, nothing is predetermined, but delaying too long introduces drift. As if on cue, the calm man by the door touches an earpiece. 17 seconds, he murmurs. Sabine's mouth tightens. She flips the agent contract open to the signature line. Every moment you hesitate, branches multiply. Choose Liam. 17 becomes 11. Out the window, a gull tilts in the wind, wing catching a bright shard of dawn. The glass between us and the bird feels thinner than the 5 minutes of reality it represents. 7 seconds. My eyes drop to the pen. The barrel shows a hairline crack near the clip. Someone pressed too hard before me. Maybe a dozen near misses I'll never meet. 4. In my head, I see the landlord's overdue notices. The lamp glowing warm over Prospect Terrace. The old woman's bell. The splash of liver on wax paper. The padlock catching light. Muddy water licking my boots. Headlights bleaching reeds silver. Random tasks that add up to a city still breathing. I pick up the pen. Outside, the gull wheels higher, unaware this timeline is still holding. The tip hovers over the line, ink bead trembling. My hand shakes once, then settles. I breathe in wood, dawn, distant diesel, and bring the pen down. Ink spreads into the paper, tiny veins branching from the point where the pen meets the line. I finish the last stroke of my surname and half expect the world to reset around me. Street lamps dimming, water draining back into the trench, some visual proof that I've stepped onto new rails. Nothing shifts. Rain keeps needling the roof, dawn keeps brightening. Sabine tips the document upright so the signature can dry. Delta remains stable, she tells the calm man. She uses the word delta, the Greek letter scientists use for change, to mean the timeline isn't drifting dangerously. The man murmurs into his earpiece and steps outside, shutting the door. We're alone, except for the slow rise of daylight beyond the windows. A phone I've never seen lies beside the folder. Slim, matte black, no logo. Sabine nudges it toward me. Proprietary line, preloaded with the Cascade suite. Overseer will send tasks through that channel only. I pick it up. The screen wakes without a swipe. Welcome, Agent O'Connell. Corridor variance 0.012. Beneath the message, a countdown clock starts to spin down from 5 minutes, already ticking at 4 minutes and 59 seconds. My chest squeezes in a blunt recognition of the pace I've just agreed to. The counter? Look ahead window, she says. Your first correction arrives when it hits 0. I almost ask if I get a day to adjust, then remember 18-year-old me praying for a job, any job, while recruiters ghosted my resume. Beggars, choosers. The black phone chimes. My pulse thuds once. Steady. Sabine's eyes holds mine, calm as still water. The screen fills with a single sentence. Remove the red bicycle from the corner of Oak and Dorrance before 6:08 a.m. Collision risk, Delta 0.029. A thumbnail map pinpoints a corner near the financial district. I picture commuters flooding downtown in less than an hour. One child's bike left on a crosswalk might be all it takes for a delivery van to brake late, for traffic to accordion, for the day to kink into a new, dangerous shape. I slip the phone into my pocket, muscles already setting into motion. Sabine drapes a rain slicker over my shoulders, more uniform than coat, dark grey reflective stripe at the hem. Transportation, I ask. She leads me outside. The rain has eased to a mist, brightening under early sun. The big driver stands by a compact hatchback, plain silver, nothing that screams government. Keys hang from his finger. He drops them into my palm, climbs into the idle SUV, and pulls away without a word. Sabine stops at the footbridge. Retrieve the bicycle. Place it against the north-facing wall of the address listed. Oversight will handle the rest. I glance back at the boathouse. From here, it looks ordinary. Weathered siding, gull perched on the roofline. But in my mind, it tilts like a fulcrum the whole city balances on. If I do everything right, I say, nobody knows I exist. That is the job. She almost smiles. History only notices the cracks. She turns, coat flaring, and disappears into the building. I'm left with engine keys, a deadline ticking inside my coat, and the road unspooling ahead. Traffic is light this early. City buses sighing at curbside stops, a jogger in neon warming sleeves, coffee steam curling from takeout cups. To them, I'm just another driver. They don't see the extra clock counting 5 minutes futureward in my mirror. Oak and Dorrance comes into view, a narrow canyon of brick offices and storefront glass. The bicycle is exactly where Overseer predicted. Red frame, handlebar tassels sagging with rain, front tire jutting into the crosswalk like a tripwire. I pull over, hazard lights blinking, step out. Car brakes squeal half a block up as a courier van swings wide to park. I can almost feel the probabilities twining. Wrong second, wrong angle, steel meeting bone. I roll the bike onto the sidewalk and lean it against the north wall beside a florist's shuttered window. Simple. Quiet. The timer on the phone resets. Look ahead buffer restored, Delta 0.009. Nobody claps. No swell of heroic music. Just an old clock tower striking 6 and the smell of wet asphalt. A kid might come back for this bike, maybe pedal home one evening years from now, never knowing he kept a van from hitting a pregnant accountant who was supposed to give birth to a kid who will, one day, keep something else vital alive. Butterfly wings, steel chains. I lock the hatchback, climb in, wait for instructions. Morning light crawls up glass towers, turning them rose pink. My phone pings. Next correction available in 9 minutes. 9, then maybe 12, then maybe 5 again. Each task a stitch in a corridor nobody can see, holding a future we will never fully live inside because we're always chasing it. My life used to stretch ahead like a blank debt ledger. Now it sits inside a moving window 5 minutes wide. I think of the photographer man, of the trench waiting to drink the rain, of Sabine's folder with 2 paths that were never equal. The seat under me vibrates with the idling engine, a steady reminder that time, real time, baseline time, keeps gliding forward. My job is to grease the rails. I shift into drive. A gull wheels above the intersection, maybe the same one from the boathouse, its cry carried on the damp air. The sound lingers, a tiny thread of the future arriving early, and I follow it into the narrowing corridor, headlights cutting a path that will vanish behind me the moment it's safe. 6 months feels like a decade when you're living 5 minutes at a time. Providence rolls through spring into hot July, and every dawn brings another line of text on the black phone. Remove a bus stop bench, jam a copier with exactly 3 sheets, let the air out of a parked car's rear tire. On paper it reads like mischief. In practice it's surgery on the city's nervous system. The landlord stopped sliding notices under my door after I paid 6 months ahead. He thinks I landed a remote IT gig. Technically true if you count disarming causality bombs as remote. I still keep the lights low and the fridge half empty. Living small makes it easier to pivot when overseer pivots. I've learned to nap in 30-minute slices, to trust traffic like a living tide, and to treat every unattended object as potential kinetic energy. I see Sabine twice a week. We meet in bland conference rooms that feel rented by the hour, though I suspect the directorate owns the deeds. Her posture never changes, but her eyes look older now, as if she's studied too many branches that crashed. She signs my expense sheets, reviews variance graphs, and once, only once, asked if I dream about the paths we erase. I lied and said no. Truth is, the erased paths dream about me. I wake some nights with the taste of wet pavement, convinced I lived a whole other morning that ended badly. The calm man, Carver I learned, teaches fieldcraft in a parking deck after midnight. He times me sprinting stairwells, has me rehearse the motions of changing a traffic light's fuse in under 30 seconds. Carver never raises his voice, but when he nods, the approval feels like sunlight on skin that's been too long in shade. The porch light bellwoman is harder to place. She appears on random corners, still in that wooden chair, still holding the bell. Sometimes she rings it after I pass, a subtle peal that tells me the corridor is holding. Sometimes she stays silent, and those nights I brace for the phone to vibrate sooner than expected. The photographer's glove, Frank's, I learned, sits in my dresser. A reminder, Sabine said, of what curiosity costs. They gave his camera to evidence disposal, but I kept the glove. On the worst nights I picture him in some split branch, alive, a stranger snapping photos that never matter because a kid's bike never blocked a crosswalk, because a dog never got loose, because a trench held back water. I hope the Divergent's version of him is happy, though logic says he can't be. Divergent branches don't last. They crumble like wet bread, and Overseer sweeps the crumbs. Overseer itself has upgraded twice. The new patch claims a 310-second horizon, but I can't feel the difference. The future is still a shadow puppet in a brighter room. I've stopped asking for the full maps. Seeing the grand plan only tempts you to imagine life outside it. Last week, Sabine handed me a card key. That boathouse office is now mine between assignments. A clock on the wall ticks 6 minutes fast, tuned to oversight standard. I leave it that way. Hearing the future tap seconds ahead of me is oddly soothing. I bring coffee in a thermos and toast the gulls that land on the pier rail, like ushers making sure the timeline takes its seat. Tonight, as blue hour settles over the river, Overseer sends a brief unlike any I've seen. Stand by. Major drift event predicted in 72 hours. Corridor agents will be redistributed. No task attached, just a red dot on the map. City Hall, epicenter of every parade, protest and budget meeting. The kind of place where a small slip can ripple nationwide. I close the phone and stare across the water. Streetlights wink on one by one, smooth and flawless, each bulb exactly the right wattage. Somewhere in those lanes, a family crosses safely. A new driver brakes in time. A surgeon finishes her shift, unaware she still exists because 1,000 microscopic choices lined up. Carver will text soon with gear specs. Sabine will circle the plan like a hawk. The bellwoman will find her curb. In the big apartment towers, people complain in group chats about drizzle, blissfully bored. I let the quiet settle, breathing in the city we saved, the city we're about to save again, the city that will never know our names. For a moment, the present and the 5-minute future overlap so cleanly, I can't tell one from the other. It feels like balance, or maybe like standing on the center of a seesaw just long enough to taste steadiness. The black phone vibrates. Once, not urgent yet. I pocket it and walk toward the lights, each step dropping into the timeline behind me and vanishing, exactly as planned. The corridor holding steady while the night unfolds its next instruction.